The push, pull to Thompson. Thompson tries again, puts it in. Bielitsa tips it right to Thompson. Another three. The pass to Wiggins up top. Thompson, another three. Bang!
Dang, guys, from having a torn ACL and a ruptured Achilles to scoring 38 against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the defending champions, Klay Thompson is proving once again that he's no mere mortal. No, he's not. But aside from his grueling journey from the bottom all the way back to the top, here are some other stories that prove Klay Thompson is just not human. Starting here at number 1. It's pretty normal to experience pre-game jitters if you're an NBA player because, well, there's going to be thousands of eyes looking at every single move you make, and if you fumble, you're going to be unshacked and a fool. Like, for example, check these out. This guy right here is about to have a brain freeze. Who's he even passing the ball to? And James Harden? What in the world was that? But for Klay, it appears that he doesn't get any butterflies before games, and actually, he pretty much just chills in the locker room when everyone else is prepping by reading a newspaper while sitting cross-legged like a boss. I'm serious here, guys. While other players are already on the court doing shoot-arounds or reviewing plays, Klay is sifting through articles about business and the global economy. Steph was caught off guard by this weird pregame ritual of Klay, and here's his real-time reaction when he first saw it. The first time he came into the locker room and he had his feet kicked up and he was reading, I don't know what paper it was, he was reading a newspaper. He looked just so comfortable and at peace. He didn't realize how different that was in the moment. Like, it's an hour and a half before the game and you're up there reading. Now, when Klay was asked about this habit, he responded, "I just think, especially in my generation, we're on our phones so much all the time, even me, I'm a bad culprit of it, that my mom actually suggested this to me. She said, Klay, instead of staring at your phone pregame all the time, why don't you get a newspaper or a book and read that before the game? Try to take your mind off things." Klay Thompson sure is unconventional, to say the least.
The camera right there. Look at that. Woo!
Anyway, moving on here. At number 2, and just hear me out on this one. So before he was globally known as one half of the Splash Brothers equation, Klay was already splashing threes and torching people.
Was definitely an indication at that point that this guy could be something special.
Yeah.
During a Division III championship game in 2008, Klay scored 37 points on 14 for 22 shooting, including a record of 7 three-pointers made. His former high school coach, Jerry DeBusk, already knew back then that Klay wasn't a human and that he was going to turn into a special player. And in his own words, when he came in as a sophomore, we could see that he had really advanced. He could absolutely drill it. Meanwhile, his former backcourt partner, Jason Panko, agreed with the coach and talked about how lethal Klay was back when they were playing together. It was so fun to be able to just get him the ball and take pride in being a good passer, because if you put it right where you needed it to, he was knocking them down. Next off here at number 3. After shattering records and playing 4 years in high school, Klay attended Washington State in 2008, and let's say he was far from done in breaking school records.
Thompson's going to wait for help here. Well, he's not. How do you like that?
Against San Diego at the Great Alaska Shootout Championship game, Klay once again proved that he was built differently by setting a tournament scoring record of 43 points, which eclipsed the previous record of 41 points set by Glenn Robinson, who was, just the NBA's #1 draft pick back in 1994. In that particular game, Klay went on to score 43 points on 16 for 24 shooting, which included 8 threes, and what kind of human does that in a championship game? Washington State completely blew out their opponents 93-56. The coach of the losing team only had this to say about the insane performance of Klay. If you watched the game, it didn't look like we guarded him at all. We had no answer for him. We just don't have any wings with his size. Even if we had a guy draped on him, it was like we weren't there. Next off here at number 4, we have another Klay Thompson story that will blow your mind. See, back in 2019, Klay had his splash mode on against the Lakers, and This guy simply couldn't miss for practically 3 full quarters.
Good. Now here's Thompson from the other side, and he hits the three.
Okay, well, that's enough.
Okay, Bob, I chill.
And a few buckets later,
This is the unselfish play.
Yesterday, he wanted to play tonight, but the Lakers staff decided to wait until at least.
the man we know as Klay Thompson transformed into a catch-and-shoot machine that game and hit 10 threes in a row before breaking his last attempt around the 3:55 mark in the third. He ended up with 44 points that night, and what makes this story even more remarkable was that he only missed 4 shots in total, while shooting 85% from two-point range and over 90% from downtown. Sheesh. Right after the game, Klay talked about his performance on that historic night, and here's what he had to say. "I've never hit 10 threes in a row in a game. That's hard to do. I just happened to be on tonight. When you got that hot hand, you're just looking for that little ounce of space because all you need is an inch or two. That thing is just flicking off your wrist so easily, and it just happened to be one of those nights." Last off here at number 5, we have Klay, who looked into the future. Out of all the stories that we've just talked about, this last story has got to be the one that gave me the most goosebumps. See, back in the 2019 finals, Klay suddenly sort of became a clairvoyant and predicted that he'll have a monster game in Game 6 of the series. Now, guys, if you don't believe the legitimacy of this story, here's Draymond Green telling exactly what Klay told him right before that game began. He was like, "Dre, I'm about to have one of those games. I'm telling you now, I'm about to have one of those games." I'm just like, "What?" He's like, "No, I'm about to destroy them. I'm telling you, just give me the ball. I'm about to have one of those games." Sure enough, he had one of those games. And right on cue, Klay did exactly what he said to Draymond, as if everything was scripted.
Thompson pulls back, three-pointer, puts it in. Thompson, long three. 5 to shoot, Thompson for 3. Bang!
Though Klay did successfully predict that he's going to have a huge game, it was unfortunate that he sustained an ACL injury. But here's the thing, after he was carried off the court, Klay proved that he wasn't human once again by walking back onto the court and casually knocking down 2 free throws as if nothing happened.
Klay in the back
He was walking to the locker room and then somebody yelled something.
to go back and play zone.
Right after the game, Steve Kerr talked about Klay's resilience and eagerness to play, as he even insisted on getting back onto the court despite just tearing his ACL just moments ago. So I remember I went out, I think we took a foul after the free throws, and I went out onto the court and I told him, I said, "Klay, you've got to get it checked out." He said, "I'm fine, coach, I'm fine." And I said, "No, go in and let our doctors make sure you're okay." And he said, "Okay, but I'll be fine. I'll be back. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be back." And that was from a guy with a torn ACL. He goes and knocks down the free throws, and then of course he hasn't been on the court since for us. Anyway, guys, let's switch topics here really quickly. Have you ever wondered what happens when you trash talk the other Splash brother? Yeah. Everyone responds to trash talk a bit differently, but Steph Curry seems to respond with vengeance. And if you want to know what I mean, then just click right here. He's a dangerous man that I probably wouldn't be trash talking him anytime soon. So click the video, guys, and like always, I'll see you on the other side.